You want to be a rock star in your 80s, you got to build this now. And what this is active metabolic tissue, lean mass. And lean mass burns calories at rest. And this is what we want. Adipose tissue, we all know what this is. We don't want it. And especially the visceral fat, which is the dark yellow fat that suffocates our organs later on in life. And that visceral fat causes us to have heart disease. And that's the #1 killer in America, next to cancer, dementia, and then they all live in a bed of diabetes. So we want to build as much of this and we want to lose as much of this. So the question is, how do I build this? Well, we got to go in the gym. We got to put stress on the muscle. And placing that stress on the muscle, there's a saying for it. They call it TUT, time under tension. And when we place the muscle under tension, like time under tension, it would be like for example, if you had a dumbbell, say like this for example, and you want to come up here, you don't want to come all the way up to the top because you're resting right here. You want to keep it right here, and that would be the time under tension. When you come down to the bottom, you want to get the full extension, but you don't want to hyperextend like that to take the stress off the muscle. So the proper form would be like this to here, and then back down with the full extension, but not a hyper extension. So by placing time under tension on those muscles, we don't have to lift as heavy weights as we age. But still lifting heavy weights is actually important as well. So we have to prepare the body for that. So back to the muscle, later on in life, also studies have been proven that if you can build more thigh muscle here, that you have a far greater less chance of falling, and that actually you can live far longer than an average person who doesn't build muscle. And the little segue on this to being in the hospital later in life, unfortunately, some of us end up in the hospital later in life from a disease. So that rock star thing in the 80s, that's per Dr. Peter Attia. And he says that if you don't put this muscle on when you're younger, the chances of you coming out of the hospital later on in life, not good. So we want to live longer. We want to be healthy. We want to be happy. We want to have more energy. And also by having more of this on our body, what it does, it sucks the food up. They call them muscle sinks, like sinks. So when you eat and your body's breaking down the food and it places the food into the liver and into the muscles and then into the fat stores. So if you have more muscle while the food's being broken down in the bloodstream, after it goes to your liver, it's going to go to your muscles, then your fat stores. More of this, less into the fat stores. And remember, you don't want your heart pumping blood through this organ of fat. It's just going to wear the heart out. And you don't want that. So we want to stay young, metabolically young. So that's what we specialize here at Soul Fitness, is metabolic health and keeping you younger than your actual chronological age. The most important things is form when it comes to working out. So I'm going to show you how to build that thigh muscle. So when we squat, one of the things when we squat, a regular squat, a lot of people squat, when they squat, they bring their knees out in front of their toes. And you never want your knees out in front of your toes. You want your knees to track your toes, and you want to hip hinge, and you want to use your adductor muscles, which are in here on the inside of your legs, to push your hips back. And as you open your hips, you drive your heels into the ground. And you can see my thigh here flexing. As you drive your heels into the ground, you push your gluteus back. As the gluteus goes back, you work on a neutral spine. As you can see, a neutral spine here. And you keep driving down, and you track the knees. And you go down into your range of motion. You don't want to go down to where the butt goes under. You want to go down to where your range of motion comes, and then you come back up like that. That's going to ensure that you're doing the proper form on your squats, whether that's a squat or say like a lunge when you do a lunge, you want to hip hinge, and you want to push that left hip back and keep that left knee over your ankle, perpendicular, the shin to the ground, as we come down and gently touch the knee, and we step back forward. And we come back here, and we hip hinge with the right, placing the stress on the joint, driving the heel into the ground, keeping the knee over the ankle, shin perpendicular, kissing the knee, and stepping back up. So that would be your best way to do squats and lunges. You can also do parallel squats as well with your feet, I call like on skis. And when you're on skis, you gotta push your hips back and drive your heels down into the ground as well. And you gotta watch your balance. You see me lose my balance a little. And then tapping of the toes. See me tapping the toes? When you tap your toes, you're tapping the toes, it assures that your weight is on your heels and that my spine is still neutral. And then I wanna get my knees, prefer my thighs parallel to the ground. So it would look like this. So there's 3 different ways to do squats. You have the knees open with your toes pointed out, and you can go like this as well to counterbalance. Then you have the lunge like this. And then you also have the ski squat. And there's different forms. There's B stance. I mean, I could go over all kinds of different forms of how you can hit this thigh muscle. But I just went over the 3 basics, you know, a lunge, toes pointed out squat, and parallel feet squat. So you can build that and be more of a rock star in your 80s. And it muscle looks good, and it feels good on you too. Now that you have a better understanding of why we want muscle more later on in life, and some of the forms on how to get it and so forth, if you have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and leave them in the comments below. And go ahead and hit that subscribe button below. And hope you found value in today's video, because you're going to find value in a lot more of them coming to you soon.